welcome back, folks. This is our first edition of FU Friday. What does FU stand for? I don't really know yet. I mean, I know we all know what it sounds like, but could be for you. It could be forever us. It could be fellow YouTubers. No. Well, give me some suggestions down in the comments what you think it should stand for. We'll go with whatever we think is best for the future. So this is our first installment. FU Fridays. Got a few things I want to talk about. We'll probably have some repeating little segments here. So in this week's version, the first thing I want to talk about is football. Where I'm from, college football is the sport of choice for most people. Coming from the Southeast, it is 2 days of church. Saturday you spend in the Cathedral of Sports, and Sundays you spend in church. Especially where my family's from, which is Alabama, which you'll find out more about in Future Me Mondays. You have one of the most notable rivalries in all of sports, actually. Very seldom do you have both within the same state two universities that yearly expect to compete for a national championship. So these two universities, there's a lot of funny anecdotes that go along with these things, like the fact that if you're born in Alabama, you have to declare on your birth certificate whether you're an Alabama or Auburn supporter. Did you know that? It's totally true. Also in Alabama, when you're talking about mixed families, typically you're not referring to families mixed by race or religion or whatever. This means that you have people in the same family that either went to or are fans of Alabama and Auburn. I personally came from one of these mixed families. My father went to Alabama, as did my sister. My aunt, my father's sister, went to Auburn, and one of her daughters went to Auburn as well. So it made for pretty fun family gatherings. We would, Thanksgiving time, would get together for a reunion, and we would eat, have a great Thanksgiving, and the following Friday was always great, but come Saturday, it was Iron Bowl day. And usually we would separate into two ends of the house, each watch the game on different TVs, and at the end, we would try to be nice to each other and sympathetic to the losers and gracious losers and good winners and all that stuff. And it was always very interesting. So now again, the reason college football is so big in the South was because for many years we really didn't have any pro teams down there to root for. Now we set aside Texas as not really being part of the Southeast. Texas is an entity unto itself, and they'll freely admit that. But when you're talking in the Southeast, you really only had 3 NFL teams for the longest time. You had New Orleans, which was perpetually terrible. You had the Atlanta Falcons, which were never really very good either, which is a world away. And so we had nothing else but college. And to be honest, we were happy with it. But of course, there are always people who take things to an extreme. But, we who are true fans of these teams don't recognize them as being fans. So anyway, that gives you some insight into my college football. But by the way, I guess I really haven't mentioned yet, I'm an Alabama fan. Roll Tide all day long. Have been as long as I can remember. And that's just how it is. Now, in the future, when we talk about these segments, I won't have to go into all this background. I'll just talk about what's going on. Also, as far as pro teams go now, in the current state of things, when I graduated from undergraduate university, I went to work in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was there when they got the Jaguars awarded to the team, and so it was a really big deal. The first expansion into the Southeast for a long time. We were very excited, and I got season tickets, and I went for the first 4 or 5 years, and really enjoyed the games. So because of that, as far as pro football goes, I'm a Jaguar fan. It's hard to say these days. They haven't won for quite some time, but you stick with your teams, win or lose. Some of the other stuff we'll talk about in future editions of this is fantasy football, which I play with a group of friends at work. I have won my league 2 out of the last 4 years, and I have a lot of fun doing it. Maybe in the next segment I'll explain how that works, because a lot of people really don't know. But it's actually, I didn't really watch a lot of Sunday football, but it's changed the way I actually watch football on those days. So it's interesting and it's fun. So we'll do more about that. So the next segment I'm going to talk about on future FU Fridays is the fact that I'm such a huge nerd. I am. I don't deny it. I always have been, and it's okay. I accept it, and I'm fine with it. Today's edition, I'm going to tell you about computer gaming, one of my passions. I play mostly the Blizzard series of games. I started out a long time ago playing Diablo, which I don't play much anymore. I just don't really have a lot of time. Of course, I play World of Warcraft. This is my main character here. He's an undead priest. I found the idea of having a priest who's supposed to be holy, healer, whatever, and being undead too ironic to pass up, so I went with that. And in that game, I'm an in-game heroic raider. I've been playing for 5 or 6 years. I'd have to go look at my achievements to see exactly how long I've been playing, but it's been a while. And I again, as I mentioned with Diablo, I don't have a lot of time, so I tend to just play on. We have a couple of nights where we raid, and raiding is when you get together with a group of your friends and do end-game type things, and you play together. And so I really only get on these days when it's nights to raid, and you have scheduled nights because you have to get 10, 20 people together all at the same time. The group I've had the most progress with raiding is actually been a West Coast team, which means I kind of had to stay up late, but it's a group of guys who work for Microsoft and Amazon and Google and things like that. So they're all techies. We all get along really well, and everybody's super cool. So we have a good time. I enjoy that a lot. Some other type of games I really enjoy are like the civilization games, where you have to build a civilization, and there's all kinds of social and governmental factors you got, and warfare and whatever, to build your empire and ultimately conquer the world. Not always militarily, but sometimes it's through culture or through religion or whatever. And it's an interesting concept, and I really enjoy it a lot. So there you go. I've now confessed what a major nerd I am, and you know what? I enjoy it, so y'all can fuck off. This is the alternative ending where I tell you all not to fuck off. All right. And for my last segment tonight, what I wanted to talk about was cringe-worthy moments. Everybody has them. There are moments in your life where you've made really bad decisions. Not necessarily where anybody's got hurt or anything, but it's one of those things that's burned into your memory that you can never forget. That you occasionally will be walking down the street and randomly this memory will pop up in your head and you will facepalm yourself to this day. I have a lot of these. Made a lot of social gaffes in my life. A lot of people make mistakes like these. But in my opinion, I believe that if you can expose them to the world, that they ceased to become such a burden on your conscience. And that's what this particular segment is for. I'm unburdening my conscience to you, and you might get a laugh out of my personal bad judgment, let's call it. So this happened when I was still in undergraduate school, and I was interning in Jacksonville, which is where I went to work after I graduated, but it was, I guess it was probably my junior year. So I was there. I was, didn't know anybody. I was kind of lonely. So, I went out to a bar and was drinking by myself and, trying to meet people, mingle, whatever. And this was, just a small little bar. But that particular night they had a guy who had a nice set of guitars and singing and all that. And when I was in college, I was actually quite a good guitarist. I played in bands and things like that. And You know, practiced a lot and was pretty good. But the reason I felt I could never be successful in that field is because I can't sing. Not only can I not sing, I can't sing and play at the same time. I can't even sing badly and play at the same time. It's one of those rubbing your stomach, tapping your head kind of things. I can't do it. And so, so I was at the bar. The guy was singing and doing his thing, and I had had enough to drink where I was going to make a bad decision, and I did. And the guy took a break, and I went up and said, "Dude, can I play a song? You know, while you're on break." And he goes, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So I went up there and sat down on a stool and picked his guitar up, strummed it, and then looked up and looked around and realized, of course, why wouldn't they be? Everybody in the bar was staring at me. And of course, they were supposed to be. And it was that moment that I just realized I didn't know how to play anything anymore. I had forgotten everything. And so I was like, oh, holy shit, what am I going to do now? So the only song I came up with to play was Stairway to Heaven. I know. That was my second bad choice of the night. And so I started playing Stairway to Heaven, and it was nice beginning, you know, and then it came time to sing. And I sang about 5 words and couldn't play anymore, couldn't play the guitar anymore. And so at that point I was now totally just, you know, knew I had failed on a catastrophic level. And about the only thing I could do to maintain my dignity was I just stood up and I put the guitar down and I walked out of the bar and I went home. I didn't stop to look at anybody. I didn't stop to chat. I got up and I walked out and I went home. And that was probably the point where I realized that my music career was pretty much over and it was never going to happen. But yeah, to this day I will think about that moment and just cringe. And you know, I guarantee you nobody in that bar knows who I am. Nobody remembers me. And even if they saw me, they would not remember the incident. So the only person in this world who knows about this is me. And now all of you. And that's okay, because you're my friends, right? But I have exercised this demon. I've exposed myself to the world, and you know, now we're one less facepalm in the old memory banks there. So hopefully this technique will work. I'll let you know how it goes. All right, well that's it for me for FU Friday. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And I'm really enjoying us sharing this time together. So again, thanks. And you know, if you want to get notified that I'm posting videos, you know, just subscribe, and you know, it'll alert you when they're there. Comment if you like me if you like.